welcome to the Challenge Chronicles. I'm Devin Jordan. I'm with Trace Armstrong and Rob McIntyre. We're here to talk about episode 15 of the Challenge, Double Agents. You can subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also watch our videos on our YouTube channel at the Challenge Chronicles. You can send listener emails to thechallengechronicles@gmail.com. And with that, we will talk about episode 15, which I give 2 thumbs fucking down. I thought this was terrible. Like, this season...
Terrible, I think, is extreme, because we've had some that episodes that have been horrific.
Like
but it was bad. It was bad.
Like, I think this season's snowballing, personally. I hope they can pull it off and give us some sort of retribution at the end. But I don't know. This season's growing stale for me.
I think we just have an issue where it seems like the Leroy, Nani, Cam group is very, very tight-knit, and there's just not going to be anything to break that. I think we actually really haven't given them enough credit, honestly, too, for just how well they've played. Like, they've had a pretty clean lockdown on this from Jump Street.
And this is kind of what we talked about on Sunday, that a lot of the time good challenge play is not exciting challenge play, right? Yeah. They're doing a good job of this. They're completely in control of the numbers as it currently stands. Especially because it seems there are mutual groups that group of Leroy, Nani, and Cam and the Big Brother Alliance are fine with throwing in. And that's what's made that's what made today very easy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also because Fessy and Casey, like if Big T does steal Fessy at the end of the episode, sorry, we're jumping ahead. Maybe that does shake it up a little bit because then groups are mixed around. That didn't happen.
Kyle was right.
I think
though.
I think once you combine the skulls with having one alliance, just the way they're set up, they have a clean nucleus, and then almost every other person in the game is still branched off enough from them where they're not gonna be aggressive in going against them.
Yeah.
It's made things a little slow, but I think it's hard for me to still get that mad at I still think they're a lot better than the last episodes of Total Madness, and I still think there's still more.
There was that Dynamite episode at the end of Total Madness, wasn't there?
Well, yeah, we still haven't gotten to the very end. Maybe we'll have something get shaken up here, and it's at least still very competitive. Like I still think like who's going to win and what the placing is from a competitive aspect instead of political is still very much up in the air.
Sure. I think that we're just running into what we've run in on our Chronicles that we do. The ends of the season tend to drag towards the end because there's not enough players left. So there are less storylines you can talk about. And then the other problem you have, especially in this game, is kind of what you identified. That Cam, Leroy, Nani alliance is unshakable, completely unshakable. And then the secondary piece of that is the Big Brother alliance. But right now you have Leroy and Nani who are connected to the Big Brother alliance. So, it just is kind of there's no question of who was going in. There's no drama about who's going in. And I think the skull twist right now is where to me, I love the skull twist at the beginning of the season. I'm starting to realize that towards the end, it's less interesting because we've seen the same thing now 2 seasons in a row. If you stay around, you're going to get a shot at a skull. Whereas at the beginning, they're clamoring to go in. I want to get my skull. Now it's just like, all right, Big T doesn't have her skull. She's in. There's no drama there. There's no political maneuvering.
Yeah, I just think it's unnecessary.
Especially because the people who already have a skull don't want to go back in. You know what I mean? So it's mutually agreeable for everyone that they would prefer the person that doesn't have a skull yet to...
It's not a very good way of generating conflict.
Mm-mm.
So the Big T screwed up, didn't she?
She really did, in my opinion.
Going through the numbers, because
it's hard because I do still think Fessy. You wonder, is there something we're not seeing with him? Because every girl still seems to want to be paired with him. From a competitive aspect, I can see where she would.
I think he's fool's gold. He looks shiny and looks like he's going to be this great final person. I think he's overrated in their minds so far.
Yeah, I don't know. So
I would definitely agree.
I think I put a lot of credence into what people in the house think. You know what I mean? Kind of like what their perception is, because they're around these people and have much more knowledge of these people than we do.
I can see where you're coming from. It's just I also have such little credence for a lot of their strategic gameplay. It's hard for me to give credence to their scouting reports. So
I think Nani had the best take on Fessy tonight or last night when we were watching. she said that, he needs to be running next to me. He needs to be a partner. He needs to not just make it the Fessy show. And I think that is where he is going to hurt himself in the final, is you're only as fast as your partner. And so if your partner can only move at this speed, you need to be there supporting your partner. And because if your partner checks out mentally because you're just leaving them in your dust, you're not going to win.
I just think his strengths don't line up for what traditionally is needed in a final. Like, I think he's like Zach free agents time, whereas Zach was a lot better in like the Vendettas final versus the free agents one. It's because he trimmed down a ton. Like, he don't need all that extra weight. And if he's got very good burst speed, obviously, like where he's very good in a short distance. I don't know how that holds up over long distance. And he hasn't shown any capability to just be good at like weird pattern recognition missions, which is a lot of what happens in a final too, and sort of the in between stages. Like he didn't win very many missions on Total Madness. It was really Wes and Johnny who were kind of running the show in the missions on Total Madness. And then this season, he and Anissa won the first two missions, but the first one was that puzzle, and the second one was just for social gameplay, and they haven't won anything since.
Well, I mean, even though they won the first two, I don't necessarily think that means they had a high probability to win any others.
I'm not saying that at all. No, I'm actually saying the inverse, where I think that they won the second one just based on social connections. Then he hasn't shown the capability to win anything beyond that.
So he did make the comment that he thinks that he's pretty adept at cardio, which was interesting.
Who doesn't? Big Easy thought he was good at cardio before Gauntlet 3. Like, I mean, that makes no difference to me what he thinks.
Hey, but remember, he can run an 8-minute mile. One
8-minute mile.
1 8-minute mile. Mile 2, who knows?
When he said that at the reunion, literally every person on the vets rolled their eyes. Like, every vet rolled their eyes when he said that. It's like, give me a fucking break. Because like, everyone was like, that is not how you represented this to us. Like,
it was also like Hunter before he came on the show thought he was good at puzzles. Like, like people sometimes are really bad gauges of how good they are at things.
Yeah, well, Fessy made the same claim tonight. He was talking about how he was better at CT than everything last night. And I was like, dude, you are just setting yourself up for a big letdown here. Because
that was another great read from Nani when she said Fessy would hire Hitman, CT would just kill you himself.
It was a great line.
Because even Nani apparently thinks more highly of Fessy as a competitor at this point than CT.
Yeah, she picked him. She seems somewhat regretful now, but she did pick him.
So at this point, I would say that if Fessy wins, I don't think anyone can say that there was any Edgic involved in editing this season of the show.
You are 100% correct.
If he wins, I would be stunned from an edit perspective.
He's getting the biggest fucking heel edit in the show's history, or one of the most.
And it's not like the Evan Kenny heel edit either.
Yeah, he's been. To me, it just seems like they're setting him up for some failure in the final, whether his own or his partners.
You would think.
They keep dropping these subtle hints with Nani's confessionals of like, I'm regretting this. I don't know that I should have picked Fessy. And it's like, I wonder what they're setting up here.
Yeah, it seems like either he's going to collapse or like his partner is going to struggle and he's not going to be able to help them at all.
Mm-mm.
Because if Big T would have chosen Fessy as a partner, it really would have thrown a wrench into what would happen with the next vote. Whereas the next vote, seemingly, depending on who wins the daily mission, is going to be pretty straightforward. It's going to be
CT and Big T, and it's going to be Kyle and Amber. That's who's going in.
Even if
they don't win.
Let's say one of those two teams wins, and they can control one of them. The other team is still getting put in through the house. Then what team the double agents put in is up for question, but the other team is still definitely being voted in by the house.
And I think we're getting a male and a female elimination this next episode.
I mean, I don't see how they'd only do one. I definitely think we're getting one of both.
If it's episode 16 and we're assuming 2 reunion episodes, I think we're getting a male and a partner elimination next week. They might compete as individuals, but there's 2 people going home next week.
I could see that too. That would make sense to me.
It just lines up too perfectly for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because if they do the rogue agent thing, then that means we got to do an episode 17 and we're not getting to a final till episode 18, which they could still do. I just think that they haven't done the end of the season twist yet. And this just seems to line up perfectly for the end of the season twist. If it's a double elimination or they're doing some type of purge for the challenge. But looking at the preview, I don't buy a purge. How do you think they handle the
partner situation with a double elimination?
Say what?
The winners get each other.
Yeah.
The winners just get each other. They don't get a pick.
Which is the format that I had guessed at a while ago, is that would happen before we got the rogue agent twist that I was not expecting.
Yeah. It's hard to sort of prognosticate on what's going to happen from here because it just seems like if one person decides to switch at this point, that's 75% of the pairs having different people, right?
So, if Big T really shouldn't have even been picking Fessy. Like, Big T's correct move after winning was to pick Leroy, don't you think?
Yes.
He's in the double agent spot.
Oh,
that's right. He can't.
That's what I would have
really,
said, too.
That's her best pick really was Fessy. But Fessy would have volunteered to go in next week, depending on who it was.
For next week? No, I wrote out the team. So if you go to sheet 6 on our shared spreadsheet, I wrote out what the teams would be, where CT and Amber B would be partnered and Big T and Fessy would be partnered. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty tight. And that's why at least she's doing something there, right? She's giving herself an opportunity to not be put in next week, whereas now it's pretty cut and dry that there's a high
they either have to win or they're going to be back in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Whereas
it's
if
guaranteed.
If she doesn't pick CT and if she picks Fessy, something could happen. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the biggest scripts in a while, I think. There was another one like that this season that we had too.
For me, it's just hard to say it's a screw up because what if she sticks with CT, they win next week, and then they get to the final, and then she's with CT for the final instead of being with Fessy? Like, I think it's for me, it's hard to put it as a plain script when I can definitely see. I just would not want to be with Fessy in a final. I think he's last of these guys in a final.
Well, she could pick Corey then.
But Corey, sticking with picking Corey, I don't think does anything.
They would definitely get thrown in. They would
still get thrown in.
Yeah,
like Corey has ties, but he's the odd person out.
I think the move is really to pick Fessy there because at least, I mean, I don't think they're going to win. Like either way, I think they have a pretty low probability of winning. They've won one mission this season, right? And
no, they won two. Her and CT have won two.
The other one.
They won the one where they hold them up, and then they won the one where they were swimming.
So both of those are pretty much like put on a tee for her.
Why is the swimming put on a tee for her necessarily?
Because she's an incredible swimmer.
Yeah,
isn't that what we learned?
Well, I mean, sure, but couldn't she just win another swimming mission then?
Yeah, but you yourself say that like swimming rarely comes up in this show.
It does. But there are some missions where
it's usually 1 to 2 times per season swimming comes into play, and we've gotten it once.
We've got it twice because we got the one underwater too.
Oh, that's right. So there's your 2. So we've probably hit our ceiling of swimming missions.
But I think they can stumble into something again.
I don't know. I think it's a significantly better move for her.
I think that they have a better chance of winning than Amber B and Kyle do. I think they have a better chance of winning than Nani and Fessy do because Fessy hasn't won since week 2. Nani hasn't won one. Has Nani won this entire season? A mission?
No.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then I think Cam and Corey and Leroy and Casey I think the 2 of those teams have the highest mission win probability, but I'd put them third. I don't think it's out of the question they win.
I don't think it's out of the question depending on what it is. You know, I mean, I think.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's just I'm saying. There's so many of these missions that just anybody can win, really. Like if it's a trivia type mission or just any mission that's not as athletically inclined, or maybe it's a weight-based mission. Like there's so many missions where they can just stumble into a win.
And we're talking also based on the fact that we're assuming like we're a competitor in the show right now. Like we don't know what the next challenge is. Based on the preview, we have an idea. They're doing the American Gladiators Challenge, basically is what I call it, next week. If you've ever watched the original American Gladiators, they would put people in these big like steel balls, and they would have to roll over sensors and smoke would blow out to get points or whatever. And so like looking at that preview for that mission for next week, it's like Big T is not going to do well on that, but we're talking about this right now without that knowledge.
I think CT would be good though, and maybe Big T just is kind of like.
I just don't think Big T has enough upper body or leg strength to move that ball around.
Yeah,
no, I don't think she is a ton either.
If I'm handicapping next week, I'm putting my money on Cam and Corey.
I think that's a good call. That seems like something Cam would be good at.
That mission, I love Nani, but like you need to have strength and be able to build momentum and keep going for something like that. I am 100% put if I was betting on who wins it next week, I would put Corey and Cam as the number 1 potential with Casey and Leroy second.
Wait, I'm curious what they'll have to do. Like, is it going to be
I
like
know.
they pick things up, or are they going to have to like hit each other out? That's what I hope. Is it going to like charge into each other?
That would be fun, actually.
Yeah.
They've
Put 'em
done
all out
similar
there.
versions of this. They've done similar versions of this quite a bit, I feel like.
Were they on the
I don't
ball
remember.
though?
I don't have
Yeah,
it.
where they're
I
in a
don't-
ball and they have to move around. I feel like there's like individual ones where they kind of do
Well,
stuff
they've
like
done
had
that where they
similar
have like
things.
rubber, like the rubber
Yeah,
balls.
like on
where
free
you-
agents, they have
Yeah.
the ones where you like grab the handles and then you run into each other, and they're playing like
The-
basically soccer
The
with them. They've
Steel
done that
American
before.
Gladiators ball is very different from this.
It's
This
very
is
different because you have to run
different.
inside the ball. It's like a hamster.
Yeah, but wasn't there one in War of the Worlds 2 where they ran inside the ball too? Where they fell down the hill?
There's in the Benedict Laurel episode. They're inside the ball, but they're not like it's still
Running.
a lot different. You're rolling it very differently,
Yeah.
and there's only two people who are inside it when they're trying to knock the other team down.
I think this is going to be a super physical type mission because just the 5 seconds we got of that preview, I was like, this is Corey Cam right here. Corey's punching his ticket.
Yeah.
Going
I mean, there
back
really
to-
isn't that much from this episode, honestly. Like this was
There really isn't. The mission itself, we haven't even mentioned it. It was fine, but it wasn't. I was just glad it was over quickly.
My one gift of thanks was that they had them go in 2 shifts instead of having 1 shift for each of them. If it was 1 shift for each of them, we would have been there for 45 minutes.
Yeah, we were there for 10, and it was perfect for that.
Thank God.
It was not a great. I mean, I feel like it would have been fun to compete in, but it's not fun to watch.
I like the challenges as like little as the person who likes it the least. And I actually thought they kind of got some cool shots in there, just from the planes and stuff.
Well, that and we also got the funny comments of Leroy and Big T being terrified to do it, which is always fun when they do stuff like this.
Terrell was commenting on Twitter that it was God's will that he got knocked out last week, so we didn't have to jump out of a plane this week.
I saw that. I was like, that's funny.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about going back to. It's funny that you said that there's very little to talk about in this episode because I was going to say going back to 2 weeks ago or going back to last week. Do you think CT regrets at all not picking Amber B?
No,
Because
think
I
he's fine with
would.
Big T. Why?
I would rather have.
What is Amber B shown to be so much better than Big T at?
I think maybe she can run a little further. Maybe
I mean,
That's
maybe, but we don't know
That's
that
all
for
that matters.
sure.
That's
She's
all
been
that
bad.
matters
She
right
hasn't
now.
done anything. She's been bad.
Amber B has? You have
She
her
hasn't-
third
she's
to
been-
win. You've had her like third to
This
win
is
for like.
purely edit. This is purely edit related that I would have her someone in contention to win.
I don't know. I would rather have her than Big T.
Why? When she's been bad. Big T, like I think Big T at least shows some keep. She's a very good swimmer, which I think won't factor into the final at all. But at least
What
shows some like cardio ability, like she has stamina.
Not really.
Right,
She was terrible today.
Okay,
Yeah,
but
she
she
was
also
really
just jumped
bad.
out of a plane when she was horrified to do it. Like I think there may have just been an adrenaline shift there. She wasn't like
Maybe.
psyched up for.
But she also had like 5 to 10 minutes.
And
before
also,
they
again,
ran.
like Nani the week before, she knew she was going to go in. So why does she care?
Trying to find the.
because if you can win it, then you stay out.
What
That's
was-
about the only thing I can.
But she was going to go in. She wanted to go in because she
Oh,
needed
that's
to
What was
right.
the
go.
one
That's
that-
true. She was going in.
Yeah, so I
regardless.
just think she might have just not cared, and she just jumped out of a plane when she was clearly horrified to do it. Whereas Amber B, she wins one mission with Darrell when Darrell just wins the trivia for them, and then since then, like
Okay, that's what I was
around that,
gonna
she hasn't done anything. She wasn't able to compete in the swimming mission at all. It's been just bad basically in all the rest of these missions.
Why do you say that she's been bad?
Because I just said, well, maybe
As
bad,
opposed
maybe
to, as opposed to
somewhat
we don't know, because like I don't know if we have enough information to say that she's been objectively like.
I'm in the
cool.
we don't know camp.
I mean, it could be just like we've had plenty of things happen. Wasn't she really bad in the underwater swimming mission? Like she wasn't able to do it.
No. Oh yeah, it fell out of her mouth, but like
There were a lot of people that were really
Yeah.
bad in that mission.
Like,
though.
how many people finished that mission? There were only like 2 or 3.
Three.
Right?
She
Three. It
also
was
like
Leroy and Casey.
she beat
Cam,
Amber
and
M,
whomever.
who's like the biggest layup in an elimination you could have gotten in that
I
elimination.
agree. Yeah, but at least she did it. You know, like
Yeah,
the
but it
thing is,
wasn't
like,
also like an impressive win at all.
if we took 100 people that have never seen this show and like ran this season through their minds and we're like, who do you think's better, Big T or Amber B?
Amber or Big.
in a final.
Everyone is saying Amber
But
B.
we're talking like people don't even understand what the challenge is. Just physically look at these people and who would you pick?
Or even knowing what the show is. Even having an idea of what the show is. Like, I don't think
why don't we put it out to a poll then? Why don't we put it out to a poll?
I think that's a great idea.
I think it's a brilliant idea.
I'll throw it on my Twitter feed right now.
It will be no. I was going to say no. Let's put it in the link to the show. We'll put it in the link to the show. I don't want this out on your Twitter.
Why not?
I want it in the link to the show. I want to know what our fans think.
Well, my Twitter feed, like people who follow me tend to. Well, some of them actually are very upset at me for a lot of reasons, but.
Well, your Gus hate has made you a target.
It's more the fantasy game. People get mad at me for the way I score things. People people tell me to throw myself off the side of a building because I missed somebody had nudity in a scene.
Yeah, you know what's really funny is I know we did our fantasy teams at the beginning of the season, but I have not even checked. Yeah,
I meant to check that the other day.
I have not even
be close,
looked. I think we are going to be pretty close.
Because right now in like the game score. Let's see, I haven't updated the scores yet for today. I was going to do that. I got
screwed by. I've had
by what?
1, 2, 3. 3 people.
You've had 4. You've had 4 people that have left for like unseemly reasons, right? Because you've got Nicole, Natalie, Lolo, and Liv. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, but Devin, you do get points if you get removed from the show.
Is it significant though?
Oh yeah, it's significant.
It's a significant last gasp of points.
You'd much rather have Liv on your team than like, I don't know, even probably like Tori.
You probably would want her more than Amber B right now, even though Amber B's still around. She's done nothing. So, other than win her skull, she's done nothing.
Though.
Let's see, because it was like Devin was leading the scoring for a while. I think it's CT right now.
You think it's what?
CT.
Devin was leading in the overall scoring for a while. I think it's CT now. Oh no, it's still. Well, I have to update it for today, but it's Devin, Josh, CT, Gabby are the top 4. Gabby at 4.
That's hilarious.
That is bizarre.
Devin, Josh, CT, Gabby. People that, dude, that's why you need to tweak these, Rob. These are people that aren't even on the show. And this whole thing is supposed to be about
they were driving all of the content though.
All right.
Like Leroy and Cam have been dominating the game, but they haven't really been on. They haven't been driving
Cam
a lot of
was
drama,
visible
really.
very early in the season. As the season has gone on, her screen time has shrunk. Even her confessional time.
The issue is she's just not getting into fights at all. CT's still like getting into fights and stuff. Cam's really not like arguing with people.
We've talked about this. The one thing that you guys need to change is you need to change the points for elimination versus daily mission win.
It's just hard. The Skulls have thrown a wrench into that scoring.
Actually, wait. No, you do have it. You have 25 points for winning an elimination, and then 15 for.
Well, it depends if it's a team or if it's individual pair. Like if you're in a season pair? Like War of the World. Well, like, for example, if it's War of the Worlds 2 and it's just 2 teams competing, then it's only 15 for winning because it's just 2 teams.
But it's the way that you had described this initially was who has the most effect on the screen, right? And I feel like the team
that's not solely what it is. It's that combined with competitive play.
All right, I would need to think about it a little bit more.
My thing is with winning a mission, when you're winning an elimination, a lot of times, you've done something bad to get put in elimination, like you've gotten last in the mission. And then also to win, winning a mission, you're competing against 7 other teams, whereas winning an elimination, you're competing against 1.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Are we what are we trying to accomplish here, right?
I said, a combination of both.
But the issue with that is that a lot of the time those are in complete conflict with each other, like crying, vomiting, and nudity, in physical
I understand.
fighting.
There's a reason that they selected me for this difficult task, Devin. This is not just given to any commoner pleb out there who's just watching the show for the first time. You need to have somebody who has experience.
That's why I don't like having when we did this last season. That's why I just wanted it to be just pretty much
competitive points,
overall performance, right? Because I think it's much more enjoyable. You're not almost rooting for competing narratives to go on.
But I think it's more entertaining because then you get points from the entire aspect of the show. Like the drama and the politics, that's a lot of the show.
I'm not. Yeah, I know. I think politics should definitely be part of it for sure. But at the same time, I'm not following this fantasy whatever we did week to week. You know what I mean? I don't think I've thought about this for who knows how long. So I mean, I'm
haven't
probably
talked
not.
about it very much this time around.
I'm not probably like the good use case for this. If that's the, I would need to think about this
Trust
more.
me, you are very much. People want me to reward more of the drama. They think I'm not awarding enough points for like just arguments.
Okay, let's talk about Anissa because somehow we've made it 25 minutes.
There's
without
just not
talking
much
about
to talk about here. It's the same
I mean, I
thing
feel bad
every
for her.
season when she's on.
That's exactly what I
just
felt.
don't. I feel bad for her, and it's just also not an enjoyable part of the show for me to watch. The trials and tribulations of Anissa every season.
Yeah, like I mean, I don't know. Like I think it was. If I'm the producers, like that's pretty fucked up that they give her that for the elimination. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that was literally put on a T for Big T.
It was, and
she probably wins. Well, let's think about it. So she did pretty well in the one she went up against Tori in. Like she honestly, like compared to like she probably beats Josh and Michi in that, all things considered, considering how bad they did. And then like I think she wins, or at least is like, it's not like watching this where it was just sad to watch versus other eliminations. I think she could have done well and probably won a lot of them.
How many eliminations from this season would they have been? Would the producers have been able to put out there and it be a competitive matchup between the two that we've seen this season?
I would have actually liked to have seen Hall Brawl with these two. Not because I felt like it would have been.
I think that's just Anissa winning, right? But
I don't know, because to me, the key to winning Hall Brawl is speed. The faster you can get further than your opponent, the closer
we saw
you are
Fessy
to the
and
bell.
Nelson, where Fessy is just able to block off the whole hall. Or Big Easy versus Wes, or Anissa's actually quite, like, she comes close. I don't know about close. She's competitive with Laurel in it on Free Agents. Like, I think it's just size.
I think it's size too.
See, I think it's a combo of speed and size, because the people that get further in the hall before the collision mostly win.
Well, what's the example of the smaller person winning? Or the person with less power winning, I should say.
Yeah, even though CJ did not win the elimination, he was able to beat Zach 3 out of 5 rounds, because they had to do it twice on Battle of the Seasons, because he won the first one 2 out of 3, and then he lost the second one 2 out of 3.
Well, because with that one, that one's partners, so then Sam's able to beat Jasmine every time they go. I think that's as close as you're going to get to one.
Is that the best Hall Brawl matchup ever?
Yeah, that's got to be.
I think so. The Zach CJ is by far the best Hall Brawl we've ever seen.
The issue with that one is just like the emotional stakes in it aren't as high because they're from the same alliance, and then it's also like, I don't know. There's not like an emotional charge behind any of the characters that season, really.
Yeah, the most emotional one was Nelson and Fessy from last year.
Yeah, I even think like Theo versus Kyle on War of the Worlds 1 and Jenny versus Tori on War of the Worlds 2. Those are both awesome too.
Yeah. I mean, Hall Brawl, except for the one we've gotten this year, which was really bad.
the Amber Hall Brawl, and then
that was brutal to watch, man. Even this one would have been brutal to watch if it was Anissa and Big T.
I don't think that.
But I feel like Big T would have still had a shot, and so would have. I feel like they would have both had an equal shot at winning it.
There really isn't anything this season I can think of. Maybe because like the one that Cam beat Smashley in. Like, do you think Big T just wins that?
It's the same one that Darrell and Devin did, right?
Yeah, like that one. Well, because remember, Big T is a pole dancer, so I think she'd be good, like swinging around.
Probably.
Big T
probably the closest.
Yeah.
Because I think any of the power-based ones, Anissa just wins. Like, I think she wins the
They do like a pole wrestle.
The pole wrestle that Kyle won, I think she basically just wins that. Any of like the tug of war type ones.
Unless the producers come up with a new elimination, they don't really have a good choice to be able to make it fair.
Unless if it's just like some puzzle type elimination.
Which they tend
maybe
to honestly,
the thing is maybe with the tug of war, Corey beat Darrell in. Big T would just be able to outrun Anissa and get to the bell before Anissa could pull her. Then it would at least be somewhat of a competition in terms of if she can run that much faster than Anissa, or if Anissa can just pull her that much more back.
I honestly think they did make the ropes longer in that elimination, because we've never
they had
seen
to do something different.
we've never seen anyone be able to do that in that elimination. As long as they've done this, where they've been able to completely outrun it. Have we ever seen that?
No.
So the closest we have to that is when Nelson beats Shane and Corey on Invasion. But that's kind of a different thing.
He outsmarted them, though. He told them they were going to go this way.
Honestly, that people forget about that. That's one of my favorite moments from the show. Because just watching that live, you get the clip of Nelson talking to Corey and Corey being like, hey, I'm going to work with Nelson here. He and I are going to work together to pull Shane. And then 2 seconds after, you get the clip of Shane be like, Nelson and I are going to work together to outsmart Corey. We've been in the same alliance the whole time and we're going to work together. And then you're like, wait a second, what? And then you just see Nelson like bolt to the bell and get it in 4 seconds as the other two of them get torched. That was incredible.
It was incredible.
Love that elimination.
Like that was probably Nelson's smartest move in the game he's ever made. Like for real. Like this is what I love about the challenge. No one wins the challenge, period, without a little bit of scumbag in you, as Johnny Bananas has said. Because in order to get to the end and win, there's a point of making sure you take care of your friends, but at the end of the day, at some point, you got to look out for number one. And Nelson did not want to get purged.
What do you think his like overall intention with that was? Because the thing is, he talks to Corey before the elimination. I forget if he talks to Shane before the elimination. He talks to Corey like the night before, so he doesn't even know what he's going into.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, but either way,
has he done like an interview where he's talked about that? We need to find
No, if he has, I've forgotten. Invasion's been a minute. Okay, that was like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, maybe. No, it's less than 5. Less than 5 because they've been doing 2 seasons a year. It's less than 5 years.
Do we have any? Do you have any news on more people in season 37? I'm pulling it up.
I think we're going to be very slow on that. I think with All Stars coming out now, information on that's going to be trickling, if anything.
It's still the same.
Yeah, I wouldn't hold that information for that for a while.
Yeah, and from what I am hearing, the Banana Man is not coming back on this one either, unless something changes.
It seems like CT is going to be the only one of him, Wes, and Johnny. That's
Wes said he's taking time because his dog died and he just doesn't want to go.
Yeah, that was
basically,
sad.
Which that sucks, man.
He had the dog, and then he also I think had some independent project he was working on.
Well, he's working on some other reality show.
Yeah, because that's why he couldn't. That's why he didn't go on All Stars. He said partially. So I think CT is the only person who's even got like an above 20% shot of the three of being gone.
I think CT will always be on until MTV decides to stop casting him at this point. Not that, I mean, in the past, CT's taken some seasons off, but that was for other circumstances. And I think we're at a point now where he's looking at it as, okay, my shelf life on this show is going to shrink. I need to make my money on it because this ain't going to be here in 5 years.
He's also actually been like creating a lot of like storylines this season, like compared to War of the Worlds 2 where he wins and he just doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Like now he's actually been like up to stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like they've done a good job highlighting what he's been up to. I mean, even the fight with Fessy tonight, you got a glimpse of that old CT, but instead of CT punching him, you just got the come at me, bro, CT.
Yeah. Man, it has been interesting how like Corey really hasn't had any source of conflict basically since Nelson left. Like again, like Leroy, Cam, like Leroy's never really involved in that many fights. He just seems kind of like too likable of a guy where people aren't going to pick out a fight with him. Cam sometimes would get in some drama though, and she really hasn't. She's been just kind of masterminding things from in the shadows. She hasn't really been involved in anything since Teresa left.
Yeah.
So if you had to rank this through War of the Worlds 1, you would have it second to last. I may even have this last.
No, it's definitely better than last season, dude.
Dude, at least last season there were like 3 or 4 dynamite episodes. Mm-hmm. Like episodes that were like objectively like within the top like 90 percentile of episodes. This season doesn't have one. There were some good episodes, but there's a lot of like really meh or bad episodes this season.
I maybe I just don't think there's as many outright bad ones because I think just with the way the game is set up, there's at least an intrigue on that perspective that just other seasons just didn't have.
What if the next 2 episodes are of the same quality of this episode? Does that change your opinion?
Probably not.
Really?
I really
Yeah,
think
oh my
like World of War's
God.
2 are total
I
madness. thought they were
actually
both
agree with
terrible.
Rob here. I feel like what you said, Devin, is accurate. There were like 3 or 4 dynamite episodes on Total Madness. And as a Banana fan, I liked to see him get probably his last win if he probably never comes back to the main show. I think we'll see him on All Stars. I don't know that we're going to see him on the main show much anymore. But this season, to me, at least, has felt consistent. It's been like a B or B minus all the way through, and the bad episodes haven't drug it down, whereas the bad episodes on Total Madness drug down the overall score.
There were some really bad episodes on Total Madness, but a lot
Total
of that has
Madness,
to do
it was
with
like I was
It had to do
dreading
with
to
the
watch it
bunker.
at some points. Like I wasn't excited at all to turn on the episode. This season, like I'm at least always excited to turn it on. I'm never like I'm always when the morning comes, I'm always ready to see what happens because there's an intrigue with the format this season that just for me wasn't there on World of Worlds 2 and wasn't there on Total Madness. And those seasons just got bogged down so much.
And the thing
by
about Total
episodes.
Madness 2 for me is I could tell from episode 1 Bananas was winning. Like just the way the game was set up, the way the confessionals and him and Wes working together, I was like,
you
Johnny
say that,
Bananas
and then
is
when
winning.
I say the edit's telling you something, you say no.
So would you have this ranked over World of Worlds 2?
Yeah, I would.
Oh my God, dude. Like,
Okay, I actually would agree with Rob there too, ironically enough.
dude, there's points last night where I'm pulling out my phone and like playing on my phone because I can't even watch this. Like, I'm just like,
I mean,
not
last
invested
night
in the season
wasn't-
at all.
Last night
I
wasn't
think
good.
part of my issue with World of Worlds 2 was just the way the season ended up playing out. And maybe this is something where I'm just kind of too in the challenge community. The discussion around that season to me was just so toxic and like it just was not something I was a fan of being involved in at all. And I thought the way the producers edited the season was like it was just like a propaganda film basically. Like they're taking people's confessionals and like moving them around in certain ways just to make them look bad. And I don't know. I really didn't like. Maybe if I just watched World of Worlds 2 like alone with just me and like one or two other people, I would have liked it more. But just the way it affected the discussion around the show for me was horrific in the time that it happened. And I think what it's done in the future with if you look at how many people are on World of Worlds 2 that look like they're just not going to be a part of the show anymore, that were originally good characters, and a lot of that's due to the environment that show created. It's hard for me to put it above almost anything.
Yeah. I would agree.
I
feel like in terms of the competitiveness though, it was not great to me because it was just like every challenge somebody was throwing it. Like whether it was CT, whether it was Bananas and Laurel, every mission somebody was throwing
Well,
it.
it was throwing it also didn't matter.
Yeah, it literally did not matter.
And
There were
so
no stakes.
The last thing that I will say before we move on to a listener email, because we have to wrap this up soon, is at least there was something happening in World of Worlds 2. Something was happening. Like something was happening in most episodes. Whereas this season,
the second half is pretty
literally nothing happened last night. Nothing happened.
There was potential for something to happen, but it never played out.
I mean, we had the Fessy CT fight, which we didn't talk about at all.
Yeah,
it was fun.
That's how noteworthy it is, that it didn't even occur to us to like spend much time on it.
All right, here's the most noteworthy part of the episode, and it was a brilliant producer pick. When they did the first skydive of Leroy coming down and they played Danger Zone from Top Gun, that was freaking awesome. Like that, whomever is picking the music is really good at their job because they are really, these last few seasons have been incredible. Like last year getting Rage Against the Machine. And
That's why we need to make sure we get the original copies of from World of Worlds 1 to now. We need original issue copies.
A listener I'm working with a listener to make that happen right now because
there we go. That's what I like.
I mean, I think that the music of the last few seasons has really enhanced the show. And if we get on like the streaming services when they eventually make their way to Paramount Plus or wherever they're going to be, if they have re-edited music, I think the impact is going to be lessened because it just really has helped the show a lot. And so I hope they keep it up.
Yeah. All right. Listener email. You can always send us listener emails at thechallengechronicles@gmail.com. Chase writes, first off, I'm glad we are getting All-Stars. Hard to believe that nearly a year ago, Mark Long and the fan base essentially spoke this season into existence and that it premieres next week. I'm glad the trailer answered questions on how physically the challenges would be and whether or not there would be eliminations. Besides the season only having one winner, do you think there would be any other twists in this season? Personally, I'd hope for something similar to the relic from War of the Worlds 1, so the same people won't be thrown in elimination over and over. Also, I would highly recommend you guys listen to a interview Mark Long did with US Weekly talking about his role in production of the season. And he also elaborates on why Evelyn, Coral, Veronica, and Landon were on, and the Eric Nyes was likely for season 2 if it happens. On to Double Agents. The CT of the old really has come back in a way besides smashing Fessy's head and eating it. He was also pretty ruthless towards Big T at the end of the mission. Do you all think he is justified acting the way that he did towards Big T? And final question, how big is Fessy's ego really? All right, so did anyone listen to
There's a lot there.
the Mark Long interview?
I did.
Was it pretty good?
Oh, you did?
It was really good. If you're excited for Challenge All-Stars and you have not listened to that Us Weekly podcast with Mark Long, stop what you're doing. As soon as you're done listening to this show or watching the show on YouTube, listen to that interview.
How long was it?
Definitely. 40 minutes maybe.
I missed that one. I didn't see that on my Twitter feed, which is odd.
Yeah, he retweeted it when he did it. He basically was like, "Hey, Ma, I think I've made the big time," because he was on the Us Weekly podcast. It was something like that.
He was on Good Morning America with Ruthie the other day.
This morning.
Yeah.
Mark Long.
Good morning.
Yeah, you
Mark
didn't see that?
Long
Him and Ruthie were on Good Morning America.
We're on Good Morning America this morning.
Yeah.
That legit happened. If that does not tell you that there is momentum behind this Challenge All-Star season, and the fact that there are 4 million plus views of the trailer just on that one trailer. I mean, there's more buzz around All-Stars than there was for Total Madness or Double Agents right now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably whole weeks where The Tonight Show doesn't get 4 million views, right?
Mm-mm.
I mean, I am not up to the date on the ratings for The Tonight Show, so I'm not the man to ask for that.
No, it's just like more of a statement that 4 million views is a lot of fucking
Oh,
views.
yeah, a lot. Yeah.
Like that's a ton.
For
and it's
a reality show that contains people that have not been on TV in a long time. Like Mark Long has not been on your TV screen since 2011. And a lot of these people haven't been on your screen since 2004. No, he has not been on the challenge since Battle of the Exes.
Just like other TV, I'm saying.
Yeah, but nothing like noteworthy. Like, no offense, I love Mark Long. Trying to get him to come on the show.
He was on remember he talked about those commercials he was on for White House Down or some movie like that.
I don't remember. I really don't.
It was something weird like that. He was on commercials for that. I mean, getting back to the email, I think the Relic should be on like every season instead of the Skulls. I think that's a way better twist than the Skulls.
Yeah, if you win an elimination, you're exempt from the next one. I think that is a great way to do it.
I think it's a great way to like make sure each of the cast is somewhat involved in every episode. It prevents people from going in consistently without giving reverse incentives where some people actually want to go in and other people don't. Like you wouldn't want to go in to get the Relic because you still have to win an elimination. But at the very least, it keeps you out from going twice in a row. I think the Relic is a significantly better addition than the Skulls would be, and I would be happy with it being an all-star.
In hindsight, War of the Worlds 1. The only thing they did wrong that season was making it individual before the final, in my opinion. If they wanted to do the final individually, fine. But when they split the partners before the final, that was their one misstep. But aside from that, they really nailed that season. Like, it was
Other
great.
people also like that twist, too, I have to say. Like, the three of us would be in agreement that other people just kind of like the show being individual just from a competitive aspect. I much prefer pairs. I think storyline flows much better with pairs. It keeps everybody involved in every episode. Mm-hmm. It keeps it consistent. Adds an interesting like dynamic of seeing how different people work together. Mm-hmm. For me, the biggest factor is just then like the cool thing about War of the Worlds 1 is from everybody is basically has to be somewhat involved in every episode to some degree because you have the 3 teams that win. Yeah, the team that won the Relic last week, so I guess they're not involved as much. But then all the rest of the teams are on the table for elimination because they could pick any of those teams to go into elimination, and those teams can pick anybody else to get put in with them. So it keeps everybody very involved when you had the pairs in play. But other people like the individuals. So,
do we feel that CT was justified in acting the way he did towards Big T?
I don't know. Justified's a weird term.
So, like, I would have not. I don't think that that's what I would have done, but I don't think I would have picked Big T to be my partner.
Yeah. I don't think the way he did it was right, but at the same time, like the is his name Chase, who the guy that sent the email? Yeah, Chase is right though that we got a glimpse of the old CT. Like that was a real glimpse of CT that you got right there. The old classic like angry CT. Granted, he did have the softer side because he did give her a genuine apology later, which was good of him. I'm glad he did that, but he didn't have to pick her, but he did. So it's kind of like, all right,
you made your
dude.
bet.
Yeah.
So at the, I would have not. So I wouldn't have acted the way that CT did towards Big T, but at a certain point, I would have had a heart, like kind of like a come to Jesus moment with Big T, probably much earlier on in the season about, hey, like, would you want to like work out a little bit more? Let's start training for the final. Let's get ready for this together and be much more positive about it than laying into her immediately after a mission happened where she jumped out of a plane and was scared to death. Like, I don't think that's the best way to
It's a reactive sort of affirmation that I just don't think works. Like that's something you have to do in the off time, not during the mission.
Yeah.
And I think we've seen something with CT now. You know how Brad has like righteous Brad, where he'll get like this look in his eyes and his eyes will bug out and he's just like a different person?
Yeah.
Bug eye Brad.
We're kind of seeing CT kind of get some of that now, where when he's competing or if he's just finished competing something, there's like a different sort of mode he's in. Like in the mission that where Big T loses the pole wrestle to Cam, he has like that confessional where he's all mad. Then after he wins the elimination against Josh and he picks Cam, he's all crazy. Then now he has it where he gets all crazy. But there's like he just has like that moment he gets into right after competition happens where he's like a dog when they're waving a treat in front of his face where he just can't control and he's just shaking around.
It's a good way to put it.
Last question, how big is Fessy's ego? Really?
Massive. Over massive.
I mean, he keeps getting all these women want to be paired with him. Apparently, maybe he just knows something we don't. Like maybe they all know something we don't.
I think they're seeing the physique and they're getting.
But that's not even a physique that wins, though.
But we know that watching this, okay? When you're.
But how many seasons have Nani and Anissa done? They should know that by now.
That there's a difference here, okay? And this is something that we have to keep in mind from a reality TV perspective. We are looking at the whole forest of an edit, okay? We are able to see evidence across several weeks, and we're able to take a step back and be objective. When you're in the game and you're right up next to it, you don't have that benefit of looking at the whole forest. You're looking at the individual trees and trying to guess what the forest is. And when you look at the individual tree of Fessy, you see a guy built like a brick shit house who walks around saying he was going to be in the NFL. I don't know about that, but that's just good marketing on his part, really. I think that they buy into that because when you're in the game, you're looking for a competitive advantage. And I think these women think that Fessy gives them a competitive advantage, but they don't think, like Nani is realizing now, yeah, he's good at physical stuff, but there's a lot of holes in this game. And so she's now starting to see the bigger picture with him at this point.
I think Fessy is like the Christine Michael or Andrew Wiggins of the challenge, where he's like got all of the athletic tools, but like what
I think it's way too early to say that. He's been in a final.
Yeah.
It wasn't very good.
Where did he finish?
Fifth,
last
or fourth? He finished last, but I agree because he was actually pretty
gave up part of the way through. Like a lot of the people gave up part of the way through.
Yeah, I mean he was actually pretty capable the first day, so I probably shouldn't say that. But I don't know, man.
Because it was when I rewatched it, it was Corey won the first leg, and then you could literally see Fessy and Johnny behind him. They were within a couple hundred yards.
It's not for me. It's not as much as that. It's like the reason why I say Christine Michael or Andrew Wiggins, like that archetype. He just doesn't seem to possess any of the sort of in between skills that people who really know the sport, or in this case the show, that end up playing a significant factor in your overall performance. Like there's a reason that Wes and Johnny are able to compete so well, or CT is able to do really well, or even somebody like a Kyle or a Turbo who just comes on. Like there's just other skills besides just being an athlete that make up the in between of the show that he doesn't seem to possess.
Mm-hmm. And it's really interesting. I want to make this point because I know we got to wrap up very soon. thinking about the Johnny Bananas factor, people love to say he's won because of his friends. All right. He's won 7 times. Of those 7 times, he has won because of his friends 3 of those 7. Okay? And his later wins are more impressive than the Island and the Ruins and Rivals to me. I mean, the Rivals final is just awful, and I give him all the props in the world, but Kenny and West really won that final. Let's be real. They were kicking their ass. But Bananas is really decent to above average at a lot, and he's never great at anything. But it's all about, can you find that middle ground consistency, and can you have good conditioning and stamina? And that is something that Bananas has, is he works on his conditioning and agility. That to me is more important than strength in the challenge. And Fessy still just looks like a weightlifter. He's got to trim down to win.
Like, what % of competitors who have done, like, let's say 4 or more seasons would Johnny beat in a hall brawl out of the guys?
Percentage of people that have done 4 or more seasons that Johnny would beat in a hall brawl? Johnny Bananas?
Yeah, Johnny Bananas. Yes, that's I'm not talking about
the
Johnny
list
Riley.
is longer than you would think, but there are going to be certain people he could never beat in hall brawl. He's never going to beat Zach in hall brawl.
I would say I think he's like middle of the road.
He
Yeah,
would be.
I was going to say like 50-60%, something like that.
Because I even think peak Johnny, like, does peak Johnny beat peak Hunter in hall brawl? No.
I don't know, man. Hunter's short.
So who cares if he's? I don't think short.
How much he weighs? How much does he weigh?
Hunter's like 200 pounds.
Yeah, he's definitely bigger than Bananas in weight. That's for sure. I don't know though, because it just, again, I go back to speed, and I think Bananas could be faster.
Hunter's fast too. Like, Hunter's not slow.
So okay, I'll give you that one. So Hunter,
like Theo even said from War of the Worlds 1, the second fastest guy on the cast was Hunter after him, and Theo.
All right, I believe that then. Okay, so Hunter, I mean, even going up against Kyle, that's a 50-50.
Yeah, I think 50, I think peak Johnny versus peak Kyle. But I'm saying it's like that. That type of skill.
I don't know. Peak Johnny. So peak Johnny is essentially Ruins.
We're talking
right?
free agents. No,
I
free
wouldn't
agents
say Ruins.
is peak
I would
Johnny.
say X's. I think X's is his best season.
No,
As
I
far
really
as,
think
like,
free agents is his best season.
Think about how,
well, actually, I can see Ruins. If you're talking peak in terms of how good he would be in a hall brawl, I could see Ruins because he's bigger in the Ruins than he is on other seasons.
Like, we're just talking about peak as far as like his best season for hall brawl would be. He's huge in Ruins, and then Kyle, like, I mean, Kyle's like a pipe cleaner.
I think Kyle's
like, realistically,
I think that would be close.
All right, sure, whatever, but. All right, let's do.
But I don't see him beating Zach. I don't see him beating Fessy in it. Like, you know, there's a certain tier. Like, even Darrell, I have a hard time seeing him beat Darrell in hall brawl.
Beats him.
So CT definitely not beating him in that either. So I mean, there's probably like a dozen people that it's a no brainer he doesn't win against.
I think he's like middle of the road, and yet he's won. Like, I'm saying he's middle of the road in terms of like that type of athlete, and yet he's won 7
times.
And like there are definitely wins on that you can chalk up to him not being necessarily the best competitor on those seasons. But at the same time, I think it just shows like that sort of spark score athlete that's really good in the hall brawl. Like, that's only one minor facet of what you have to do.
Yep.
All right.
It also helps that he's done like 20 seasons. Sorry, I'm done.
It's true.
Thanks for the email, Chase. If anyone else wants to send us a listener email, you can reach us at thechallengechronicles@gmail.com. We're going to do power rankings really quick. Mine are completely unchanged. I have Leroy, Fessy, CT for the men. For the women, I have Casey, Cam, Amber B. Who are the other women that are still in this?
Casey, Cam, Amber B, Nani B.
I guess I'd put Nani over Amber B. Yeah, I'm going to do that.
You haven't come back to me on any of my bets, by the way, for Casey in this final.
What do you want?
Can I get any Fessy money on the final?
What do you want to do?
Well, who else would you want to pick?
Who would I want to bet against, or who would I
like? I would take. Like, I would take Corey over him. I would take Leroy over him. I would take CT over him.
I would think about doing Corey. That's pretty close, though.
Well, you're not helping me out here. Like, all these proclamations about Fessy.
I would probably do Corey. How much you want to do? You want to do $5?
Though I'm actually, the only thing I'd be somewhat concerned is I do think there's well, I guess not really, because he's partnering with Cam. I just think he has a. Well, once we get to the final, we'll make the bet live. But
No,
if
let's
they're
do it
both
now. Let's do Corey versus Fessy.
fine, placement in the final. Well, then placement in the
Yeah.
final. If he doesn't make it, then it's a null bet.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm good with that. $10.
$5.
Let's do $5. Come on, what are we doing here, dude?
Rob's trying to make some money back these lost this year. All right. What's your overall, Devin?
Here, let me finish putting this in. Rob has, or I have, who do I have? I have Fessy. Rob has Corey. Trace, you went in on this?
Nah, because I would go Corey. I feel like it'd be a push. Yeah.
All right. So
He's gonna like DQ in the final. He's gonna have his Zach moment, but he's actually gonna quit.
what do we do for DQ?
I don't think he'll quit. But...
No, DQ counts for me because a lot of this is based around the edit of the show, which the DQ would count.
Really, what it boils down to, Devin, is if they both put one toe over the starting line in the final, whoever finishes higher wins.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter if they get DQ'd. Doesn't matter if they break their leg.
Like if Fessy has like
doesn't
a Melinda's, not a Melinda.
I'm fine with that. Overall, I'm going. So for the women, I did go. I don't know why I didn't do this last week. I'm going Casey, Cam, Nani. For overall, I'm going Casey, Cam, Leroy.
Interesting.
Who's up?
All right, I'll go. I'm gonna go Leroy, Corey, Kyle.
No CT or Fessy?
Dude, if he gets stuck with
if he's got Big T in the final, man, I just don't. I'm basing these picks on where we are partner wise right now.
I just don't think. I think that's just so hard to do because I think we're still getting 2 more people eliminated, and it's such a roulette of partners at this point.
Yeah, I know because that's why these power rankings can change each week because the information we have changes each week.
That's why I'm hedging and putting CT third. That's why I kind of have him slotted in that area because I still think there's an opportunity for that. We still don't know if, what the format of the final is going to be. There's still a lot in the air, even though we have 1 week left. All right, for the women, who do you have? For
the women, I will have Casey, Cam, and Amber because she's attached to Kyle. Not because I think she's better than Nani. I just don't have any faith in Fessy. And if Nani's still with Fessy, then that strikes her out. Same thing with CT and Big T. As long as CT is still Big T's partner, man, it's hard. That's a hard road to hoe, especially if they have to climb a mountain in Iceland.
All right, overall, who do you have?
I will have to go Leroy, Casey, Cam.
Rob?
For the woman, I'll go Cam, Amber B. I don't want Big T or Nani. I'll stick with my girl Big T. Let's throw some love her away.
No love for
the male side.
Casey.
I'll have CT1.
Dude, all right, let's do a Big T Casey bet. You ready? Come on,
I don't know if I want money on Big T Casey. I think the issue with Big T, I think there's a decent chance she goes home before the final. Unfortunately,
so we'll just do placement in the final.
Well, once we get there,
then
we'll make the bet. Well, okay. So you're saying if they don't get to the final, it's null.
Yeah, so if Big T or Casey don't get to the final, it's a wash.
Well, but I want odds on that then.
Why?
Because if you're so freaking confident, I think it's
you have
not
Big T higher than Casey.
I understand I have her higher, but I know what I'm doing when I'm betting things. Just because I have something higher, I'm going to want odds on it.
Why? You should be giving me odds.
Because you're so confident, he's so confident. I realize that perhaps I'm just
if you think Big T's higher, you should be giving me odds.
What? No, I think because I'm saying the average odds maker would have her way below Casey.
Yeah, the average odds maker would have 6 to 1.
I get why he doesn't want me to give him odds, but I would do that bet if he gave me odds.
No, that's ridiculous. I shouldn't have to give you odds. You have her higher.
It should just be straight up on this one. Either you think Big T's going to beat Casey or not.
Yeah. We're not talking about an average odds maker. We're talking about the two of us.
I understand. Unfortunately, there's no vig here. You know what? Sure. If they're both in the final.
Yeah.
If they're both in the final, sure.
$5.
All right.
That's a good one. Yeah. I mean, to kind of close. Oh, he's still got to do his. He already did his overall, right? Guys.
So I've got for the men. I have CT1. I would probably go CT Leroy Corey. I think Leroy Corey is pretty close though.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
All right, hold on. Let me go back. What was your overall?
Overall, I
no,
haven't
your
gotten
min.
to
What was
yet.
your min? Excuse me.
Men was CT, Leroy, Corey.
Okay. And then overall, who do you have?
I
You had
really
CT,
think it's going to end up being. What's that?
You had CT, Leroy, Corey, right?
Yeah. I really think it's going to be one of Cam and CT that win. Which of the two I want higher? I guess I'll have CT 1, Cam 2. I'll have Amber B3.
Dude, bro, I'm feeling pretty good about these bets.
I feel really good about Devin's bets too.
So what do we have on the money now? We have Corey over Fessy, and then we have Big T over. Well, yeah, you haven't come back to me on Amber B or on Cam
versus Casey.
Yeah,
I'll do Casey versus Amber B.
You told me you were going to give me odds on that one. You never came back to me with that.
I don't think I ever said that. You told me that I was, but I don't think I ever actually did. That doesn't sound like something I would do. Go back
the tapes. So somebody in the audience come and support me on this, that he was going to give me odds.
So the outstanding bets that we have right now are Casey. We have a case. Oh no, we don't have that. So we do have a Casey versus Cam bet. So we have a Casey versus Cam bet.
Oh, we do? Oh, how much?
Yeah. For $10.
Okay, cool.
Then we have a Corey versus Fessy bet, which we just made. And then we have a Casey versus Big T bet, which we just made. And then we have the Drew Lock bet, which is looking good for me. And then
why do you say that? You think that they're taking a QB or what?
Yeah, there was a report that came out the other day, like from the GM, that they're going to bring in competition.
Well, that's fine. They bring in competition for a lot of people.
And then, there's just no way. Like with like a decent quarterback on that team, they're a good team. With him, like they're like have no chance. He's one of those.
If they draft like Mac Jones, you don't think they'll start Lock the first few weeks?
No, fuck that. Like
what would they do with him then?
I think they get rid of him. I think they try and trade him or release him. Like they don't need that guy.
They just
around.
Cut him.
Yeah, dude, he's worthless. He's a terrible quarterback. You think any team would give up a draft pick for him? Like a seventh rounder?
No, that's why I'm saying I think they're stuck with him. I think it's like the Jets with Darnold.
Dude, they fucking cut his ass. He's worthless.
Give him a 5th round pick.
He's worthless. Worthless.
So I just think if he's on the roster, he's going to start week 1.
Yeah. We have pairs for the final, which I think that's probably leaning towards your direction.
And then we have the overall $10 bet for who has the highest fantasy points at the end of the season too.
Oh yeah,
we did.
I should check that. I think that's
we
really
always
close.
That's just the standard.
All right.
Yeah, winner gets the pot.
And then we have the Trevor Lawrence bet, which I think is yours. Which it is.
I should have put more money on that one. I just honestly had not even heard your stance on that. That like I hadn't heard anybody say that, so I thought I was just like out of the loop.
I don't know, man. Urban Meyer's known to do cranky things. Like
there's no chance that he doesn't go there. His take was that he was going to like intentionally go to the Jets instead of the Jags. Which is
no. So my thing was that he was going to do that or just go back to school. I thought that like that was a significant probability that he was going to go back to school.
But like, is that much better to be on the Lions and the Jets next year? The Texans, my God, where they're paying like $20 million for the washed running backs.
If you play for the Jets, at least you're in New York. You're not in like Detroit.
The Jets are terrible, though.
Like, screw that. Like, I don't want to live in Detroit.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, though. Like, no
offense to people from Detroit. Like,
you got a great airport. I'll give you that. I love your airport.
Devin, that's what I'm saying. Like, if he held out till next season, he's probably in Detroit or in Houston.
I know, but at least he's pushing it down the line.
What does that mean? It means he gets less money. He gets money later.
I think that him going on the Jaguars is a good thing. It's the perfect setup for him right now.
You're in Florida at least, no income tax.
No state income tax. You're on a team that's rebuilding and actually spending money for a change. They're doing really good job spending money.
They seem to be more competent than like Houston, who's paying like $20 million to do running backs, has signed like 6 different washed linebackers, gave David Johnson like $20 million, gave up 2 rounds of pick equity to swap David Johnson and DeAndre Hopkins.
Do you think that's the perception of players, though? Like, I think like if you pulled players on what the historically the worst franchise in the league is, the Jaguars would be number one.
I think every single player in the league right now would rather play for the Jaguars and the Texans. I think that's without a question.
Right now, yeah, for sure. Right now. But historically, if you ask them, actually, I don't know.
I would say Cleveland. Up until this last couple years,
I don't think that matters at all, though. I don't think historical rank. If anybody's factoring historical rankings into what franchise they should play for, that's.
Do you think they would rather play for Jacksonville than Houston?
Yes, dude. Without
I would
question.
agree.
Houston is about to have their players mutiny. Houston has Jack Easterby waving around a sword in exercise rooms and stuff.
They've been a hot mess since for the last 5 years.
He used to be a chaplain for a team. He was like a priest. He was like a Baptist minister, and then now he's running the Texans organization.
How many people did they sign? They signed some obscene amount of people, didn't they?
It sounded
and then traded away their best players. By the way, let's not forget that
they've gotten rid of all of their best players. They have bring in Nick Caserio, who is supposed to be experienced and stuff. But if you listen to any interview he's given, he's just in charge of the cap. Basically, he's not in charge of much roster management. It seems,
dude. And then one of their biggest they signed Mark Ingram for what did they?
Yeah, they signed Mark Ingram for $3 million, and then they signed Philip Lindsay again. They signed 3 running backs for a combined $20 million. All of them get hurt constantly. Mark Ingram was a healthy scratch at the end of last season.
Yeah, it was bad.
Is there?
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend to speak for an NFL player here, but if I'm an NFL player, I want one of 3 things to be true. Okay, to be on a team. Are they a Super Bowl contender is probably number 1, because every football player wants to play and win the Super Bowl. If you are not going to be on a Super Bowl contender, the next thing you look for is who's going to pay me the most amount of money, because I need to make my money. And then the third thing is, where would I live? If I can't be on a Super Bowl contender. I would reverse those.
Location,
you really
money,
think that
Super Bowl.
Okay.
I think so. For 95% of the league, I think money is number 1.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree.
All right, so money 1, Super Bowl 2, and then where you get to live 3.
The thing is with the Lawrence argument, though, is he's going to get the same amount of money everywhere. He's the first pick.
Correct.
So we should also probably move on, because there's going to be 8% of our. Well, actually, we did get a lot of responses.
We found out a lot higher than we thought. So there you go.
The issue with that is just I know that that's only for a small segment of people. Where people.
All right. Thank you for listening to the show. Thank you for all the people that responded to the listener email. Oh, crap. All right. So real quick, we wanted to say thank you just because I forgot to do this last 2 episodes, I want to do it real quick. Thank you for Curtis Blanchard for leaving a YouTube comment from the episode a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about what the probability of a real world competitor winning the final is. He left a comment on the episode 13 recap where he pretty much details exactly how you would do the math equation for it. And it comes out to pretty much
a Twitter DM
a 2/3 chance. So thank you for leaving that. And that's all that we have for this week.
Real quickly, I got a Twitter DM explaining this to me as well, and he and I had with Joe McDowell, I believe it was, and he and I had an exchange about it. Very upset at myself for that afterwards. I had it mismarked in my Excel document, which is why I was wrong.
All right, cool.
Yeah, good times.
Thank you for listening, everyone. Thank you for responding to the listener email survey that we did. That's definitely going to help us a lot as we move forward. We should have some exciting news about that within the next, 2 to 4 weeks. We do plan to do All-Stars content in some form, whether or not we'll see what happens there, but there's probably going to be something available to you in what form. That's still TBD. Thank you for listening, and then we'll talk to you again next week. Bye.